Have you ever felt trapped by a sorrow you couldn't share? A grief so deep it had no words, no outlet, just this silent weight pressing on your chest, while the rest of the world carried on like everything was fine. Me too. You know, there was a chapter in my life where I smiled, I showed up, I held it all together, but behind the scenes I was unraveling. And the hardest part? No one really knew because I didn't feel like I could tell them. Not because I didn't want support, but because the kind of grief I was carrying didn't come with sympathy cards and casseroles. It was invisible, draining, and absolutely exhausting. But today I want to open the door to talk about what hidden grief really looks like and how I finally began to move forward, one small but powerful choice at a time. So stick with me till the end because I've got some free tools just for you that might help you on your grief journey. Now, for years I carried this grief around like a secret. See, it wasn't because I was ashamed of what I was feeling. It was because the world doesn't always make room for the kind of grief that doesn't follow the normal narrative. See, when we think of grief, many of us picture death and maybe divorce. But grief comes in many forms, and mine was wrapped up in watching someone I love struggle day after day with something I couldn't fix, something that broke my heart slowly. There was no funeral, no clear ending, just a constant ache and a quiet fear that I lived with every single day. I grieved the future I once imagined. I grieved the version of my child I wished I could rescue. And I grieved the part of me that blamed myself, questioned everything, and felt totally helpless and alone. And I kept it all in because I didn't want to burden anyone, because I didn't want people to judge him or me, and because I thought no one would understand. And that's what hidden grief does. It isolates you while you're pretending you're fine. And you know, the first time I said it out loud to someone, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I'm grieving something I can't talk about. Honestly, it was like admitting I was broken, but the truth, I wasn't broken. I was hurting, and there's a difference. So I started taking tiny steps, journaling, reading, talking to a coach, listening to stories of women who were navigating grief that didn't fit the mold. Now, some people were understanding and others gave me that blank, well, at least he's still alive look. And while I'm deeply grateful, that sentence erased everything I was feeling and holding. See, that's the thing with ambiguous grief. It's not about wanting someone to disappear. It's about the pain of watching life unfold in a way you never imagined. So I had to stop waiting for the perfect listener and become the one I needed. I gave myself permission to feel whatever I felt, and I stopped judging my emotions and I started exploring them. Was it messy? Absolutely. You know, there were days when I numbed out, I went quiet and pulled away from people. But there were also days when I woke up and thought, you know what, maybe I can rewrite a new chapter. One that includes this grief, but doesn't let it define me. And you know, reclaiming my story started with self-compassion. So instead of asking, oh, why can't I handle this better? I began asking, now what would I say to a friend who was in my shoes? And honestly, that changed everything. I started building small rituals that anchored me. I did things like meditation, breath work, writing letters I never sent, and moving my body when I didn't want to. And then I found something that changed the way I dealt with grief, not just in the moment, but in the years that followed. I became an advanced grief recovery specialist. I didn't do it just to help others, I also did it to help myself too. See, I needed a structured way to face the pain I was carrying, and this method gave me that. It allowed me to process what was emotionally unfinished, and for the first time in a long time, I actually felt relief. And you know, Even now I continue to use the tools from that program every time life throws me a curveball, because let's be honest, grief doesn't only come from death. It can come from changes, transitions, aging, family dynamics, health issues, even the loss of a dream, and much, much more. And I've learned healing doesn't happen once. It's something we tend to like a garden, gently, consistently, and with compassion. And you know, slowly the fog started to lift, not because I got over it, because I moved with it. I let go of the illusion that I had control over everything, and I leaned into what I actually could control: my response, my energy, and my healing. I made space for joy again, for laughter and for hope, and that was so freeing. See, grief and joy can coexist together. You can carry pain in your heart and still sing and dance in the kitchen. I started dreaming again, learning, traveling, creating, talking to women who were walking their own shadow paths. And I realized this is the work I want to do, not because I've got it all figured out, but because I get it, because I've lived it, and because healing is a shared journey. So, my friend, if you're carrying a quiet grief, one you feel like you can't talk about, I see you. Whether it's addiction in the family, a strained relationship, the loss of a future you dreamed about, or a deep fear for someone you love, it matters. Your pain is valid. Your feelings deserve air, space, and compassion. And you don't have to walk this alone. If you're wondering where to start, I've got a few free gifts that might help. I have a guided sleep meditation to calm your busy mind at night. There's 61 tips on grief and how to move through it, and a 4-week wine pause journal if you're ready to take a gentle break from numbing and start feeling again on your terms. And you'll find all the links below. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever carried grief you couldn't explain? And if you're feeling comfortable, please share your story in the comments, because you never know who needs to hear that they're not alone. And if this resonated with you, please like, share and subscribe, as it helps me to reach more women who are navigating this messy, beautiful midlife reset. You deserve to reclaim your story too. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you soon.